This podcast is brought to you by RAMM Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. RAMM is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
Welcome to Late Night Riders. On this episode, we're going to talk about some exciting things that are happening at RAMM. So recently, we had something special get installed on our property. Can you guys talk a little bit about our new paddock?
So I decided that I wanted to do a project here at RAMM, and it involved some fencing. So I got with Paul, and Paul and I started to talk about what we wanted to put in, and we decided that there was a back area behind the office that would work out perfect for the size that we needed. I was thinking that I would need something around a 50 by 150.
50
maybe?
by 100.
And then so Paul went out and started to measure, and we went from there.
The area was 65 by 165, I think, is what we ended up at.
Bigger than what we thought.
Much bigger. So when we started to plan this and lay it out, one of the first things we kind of did was just drove some stakes in just to try to get a visual for the size of the area.
String line,
and ran some string lines just temporarily just to kind of see what it looked like. And being that we were putting it on the company property here, maintenance and upkeep are a really big consideration because we are on a 30-acre farm here, and it takes a lot to maintain it with mowing and trimming, and there's a lot involved with that. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we put in, we could maintain fairly easily and wouldn't have to worry about somebody running into a corner post with a mower or weed whipping too much fence line. So we tried to make it, have all those things in consideration when we came to laying it out and planning for the area.
Now, this paddock is a little special because we had existing fence up to begin with that we added on to, and then we did some different things to showcase our products on it. Can you talk about the different products that are all in this one paddock?
So we had an original L-shaped display of our 4-rail 5 1/4 horse fence, and what we've added to it was some 2x4 high tensile non-climb mesh fencing and a top rail of 5 1/4 inch on top of it, and then on the other half of the L we put some 4 1/4 inch rail on top of the 2x4 high tensile non-climb fence.
We decided that we wanted to put a smaller gate in where we would go in and out for ourselves, which was a 10-foot gate. And then we decided, like we usually tell our customers, we wanted to be sure that we had a gate at the end that was larger. So we put in 2 10-foot gates to make a 20-foot opening then too.
The 20-foot opening allows us to get any equipment in that we would need to get in, and the 10-foot gate is a real lightweight gate, so it's easy for anybody handling horses or any other animals to be able to walk in and out of that area. We also designed it for our sure latches, which makes the gates easily opening from both sides. And then on the big gate, we put a gate anchor, and then wrapped it with a chain to kind of stabilize that end of the area.
Yeah, and I love the sure latches. They're so nice because it'll allow the gate to open either direction, in or out. They're heavy duty. They just work really easily.
And you can open them from on top of a horse, on horseback. So makes it real nice.
I like the idea of the woven wire too, because we just didn't have that up on the farm here, and we decided that it would be nice to put up, especially in the back of the offices, because at the back of the office itself faces out to like a 15-acre area that's just all woods. So we have a lot of wildlife out there too. So we just wanted to be sure we kind of kept what was in and keep what is out.
And the woven wire we chose is a high tensile woven wire. So it's a 2x4 rectangular mesh that is manufactured from high tensile steel. So high tensile steel is high carbon steel and has very little stretch factor at all with it. If you ever go down, most of the highways here in Ohio at least are the highway fencings manufactured from high tensile steel. A lot of your local farm stores, they carry what they call low carbon steel. So their 2x4 meshes and their woven wire fences are made out of low carbon steel. And the low carbon steel is a good fence, but it stretches out over time. So if you've ever been on a farm, say after 10 years, and you see the woven wire fence kind of laying over or sagging, a lot of that's because in a 200-foot roll, that fence can stretch 20%. So it's quite a bit. It can stretch out, and then you have sagging. So we decided to go with the low-maintenance alternative of high-tensile woven wire fence here with Class 3 galvanization, and that's another big difference about the wire mesh that we carry. Class 3 has 2.5 times more zinc on it, which is the galvanization that prevents it from rusting than what you would find at your typical farm store fence. They carry Class 1 galvanization. So the wire that we put up is a low-maintenance wire. The posts that we offer here, that we sell out of our yard here, have a 30-year manufacturer's warranty. And the Flex Fence is a lifetime or 30-year warranty, depending on which rail you choose. So the whole project is very, very low maintenance.
And that's one thing you should ask about if you're getting woven wire fencing, or even like with your posts. Find out what the galvanization is on it. It makes a difference in the rust that forms on it. Some fences can rust very quickly, and I've always said you get what you pay for with a fence. So if you want it to be long-lasting, get the Class 3. With your posts, be sure that they do have a retention level. Like Paul said, ours are a 30-year life warranty under the ground, with a post under the ground. So
a lot of times our posts are kiln dried before they're treated, which means they're stuck into a dryer, and they're a certain amount of moisture. It has to get to a certain moisture level, and then they treat it. A lot of posts are just air dried then treated, so you don't really necessarily know how much moisture is in your posts before you treat them. That's why some posts, only last 5 or 6 years, and then they rot out. Because,
or you get a real good price on a post, and you've got to beware. Like, ask why, right?
Yeah. The treatment just does not penetrate the post as well, and then they rot out, or insect damage, gets to them. So, that's the big thing when you're shopping for your fence, and to look at all those things, because the posts are basically the backbone of your fence, and if they go out, then it's a lot of work to replace. It's a lot of work to not only plan your fence project. I mean, I think we spent quite a bit of time.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, quite a bit of time planning that. So.
I was just going to say that Paul and I haven't worked on a fencing project since I think the last time we were in Michigan, in the cold, trying to measure miles of fencing together.
Yeah.
It had been a while. So here we are out in the back of behind the office, and we're like, okay, who's going to take the paper and the pencil, and who's going to go ahead and work the string line and so forth. And it was pretty funny. So sometimes we know, like, when you work together on a project with like your either a spouse or someone else that you haven't worked with before, it's kind of funny. You have to kind of get your pattern down of who's going to do what, and we did, and figure out our corners and everything together, which was kind of fun. So
yeah, I mean, we walked it off and measured off the building, because I measured, you drew.
No.
Yeah, I drew, but we wanted to make sure that the area looked square to the building. We
Right.
wanted the paddock square to the building,
Yeah.
and sometimes when you square it to the building, it just doesn't look right visually
Yeah.
to the eye. So there's constant little adjustments when you're pre-planning all of this before you actually dig a post
Yeah.
hole.
And we wanted 45-degree corners.
yeah,
We
we-
talked about that. And so we wanted to be sure that the 45-degree corners on both ends would be, not off, but that they'd be match on both sides.
And you guys spent a long time on that string line.
We did.
Do you want
We did.
to tell them what
We
happened
did.
to the string line?
We,
Well, first of all, I want to say
Go ahead.
we went through and we did a couple of corners, and I'm like, okay, Paul, we're done. He's like, no, we're going to keep on going. I'm like, no, I think we're good. He's like, nope, we're going to keep on going and do more and remeasure and measure again. So we did. So we spent a lot of time on those corners. We had the string line. And then, was it the next day or a couple of days
couple
after?
days later. So
Paul
what I
was
tell
out.
customers is that when you lay your string line, you want to lay it all out, and then you want to look at it and then let it set for a day or so, and just go back next day. Because sometimes when you look at it, when you're in the thick of it and you lay it out, you think it looks perfect, but then the next day you go back out and look at it, and you might notice something that you didn't think about. So we left ours up a couple days,
And probably what you should do is maybe once you know that it's where you like it, maybe take some marking paint and paint it. So we left ours out there thinking that it's fine, and anyway, Paul looks out and
then one of our workers out here was mowing on the mower and mowed over our
mowed it
string
right
line.
down. After all the work. So those things do happen occasionally, but anyway.
So yeah.
So these are the things that can happen, even at our office. So, but we remedied that and got the string line back, and had it all laid out, and then we went from there.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between doing it yourself and then having installers come and do it?
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah,
This is big.
we work with a local company here that does installations for us locally, because quite frankly, we are so busy with the materials that we offer to our customers, we just don't have time to set up an installation company and get into that business itself. So, but the local company that we do work with, he has all the equipment. So he has a skid steer that runs on tracks. He has a
really
post
streamlined it, though.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
say this. Yeah, he streamlined it.
post driver. He has a mesh
Stretcher.
So he has all the equipment that you would
Like
need.
a gator or something, like
Yeah.
that to move things around.
Yeah,
quickly.
I'd be willing to guess that he probably has, between the truck and the trailers and all the other equipment, probably $250,000 worth of equipment just to build fence that he's invested in.
And so the thing is that you could see that's so nice about it, even with Paul and I going out and measuring this. I mean, they do this day in, day out. They just have their pattern, their method, and boy, they just got right to it. Checked the lines, made sure everything was where it needed to be. I don't know if they started with the corner post. They did, I think, started with the corner posts, and while the corner posts were being put in, then other posts were being laid down on the ground, right where they would go into the ground. It was like one thing happened right after another. The corner post, they augured,
Yeah.
and then once they augured, then they did the concreting,
Yeah. The diagonal brace,
the
corner
diagonal
posts,
bracing, right?
and then concreted all those posts, and then drove all the
Came
line
in.
posts with the post driver.
And the post driver that they had is so fast, it's not even funny, with the skid steer, the Bobcat. It's a hydraulic driver, but it actually taps the posts in, and
Yeah,
it's just
it vibrates the post right down
Just right
into
down
the
into the
ground.
ground.
Yeah.
And a driven post is actually stronger as a line post than an auger post, just because anytime you disturb the ground around it, you have to put that dirt back in around it and tamp it back down. When you actually drive it down into the ground, if you try to pull that post out, it almost creates like a suction because it's so tight into the ground. So
And this is something you should ask your installers. What equipment are they bringing? because it could be a guy out there augering every single hole.
Or
So-
maybe just I have a truck and I have this and that and not too much, and you think, what kind of equipment do they have? Will it go quickly or not?
I think with doing installation or seeing installations for as many years as I have, one of the big concerns for a lot of customers is how is this equipment gonna impact my land? So in our case, the installer had a skid steer with tracks. So the impact on the land was very little. We have a Bobcat here that we use, and just from doing a little bit of grading
With
in
tires,
here,
right?
with tires, it rutted
Right.
the area up pretty good. So that's something to consider.
He also was careful. He didn't just drive straight across the pasture or paddock that we were building. He went around the outside. He was careful. That's the other thing that he was careful about, the grass that would be on the inside, the land around it, and so forth. He just didn't tear it all up.
Yeah, because a lot of times you're spending so much money to seed these areas for your livestock. And that's seeding. You guys just did some seeding on the farm.
On some other land that we have. And this was nice grass where we were too. But but the seeding now it's going to take another couple of years for it to really be established.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So with spending all that money, you just don't want somebody driving across your fields and rutting your fields up and tearing up the new grass that you put in. So there's a lot to consider when you're hiring somebody to do a job. Not to say that they can't do a good job with an auger and equipment.
Exactly, you can.
But it's going to take more time. These guys came in and basically it was 2 days because they had to let the concrete set up.
But they only did, with the posts.
4 hour days.
Yeah.
2 4-hour days to build.
It was so fast. They came in and did the posts and the concrete, and then the next day they came in, and you were here, Paul, and then they put in the woven wire and the flex on top, and that was a quick, real quick too, like you said, like maybe 4 hours. So and we did not, of course, tighten up the flex tight, because we will need to let those diagonals, the braces, and the concrete set up too. So we'll go back in and tighten that back up in a bit.
Yeah, probably in the spring, once that sets up really well.
For our listeners, why do you do diagonal bracing as opposed to H bracing or just concrete?
So we like diagonal bracing. We've done, we have an engineer that has tested all these different braces, whether it be H braces, diagonal braces, H braces
dead
with
manning,
dead manning
all
braces, all the different types of bracing. And what we have found is that a diagonal brace that is concreted to a corner post that is concreted based on specific heights and widths of the brace works out well. It's in our manual. Works out well all over, anywhere in the country.
Right.
Works out really well.
It's lasting. It's just lasting. We want you to go in, do it once, not have to do it again. So
I've got customers, that are concerned sometimes. Well, I don't want a concrete post in because I'm afraid the concrete's going to rot the post out. And I've been doing this, 25 years, and I have fence jobs that have been in that long, that are still active fence jobs that look great still. So the concreting has not affected those posts, and it's just a strong brace. Whereas I've seen other fence jobs that have been H braced or other types of bracing that have failed over time. Typically with an H brace, they build them primarily on farm fences for cattle, and they're typically 6 wires or less for a single H. And then when you get up to 9 or 10 wires, then they go to a double H brace, which is, it's a stronger brace, but still our diagonal is less money for the posts, and ultimately I think it's just easier once you build one and get the hang of it. They go real quick.
And Paul, we work with our engineer together, but been here for a good 30 plus years, and I know our engineer has had his braces up on his farm for even longer, and his fence is beautiful. I mean, they have miles and miles of fencing, so we know it's been proven, and it works.
It does absolutely work well.
Yeah.
So another reason we built this paddock was to answer some common customer questions, and I think we did a very good job of putting that up to answer those. We have a rounded corner and some other options to show our combination fence, how to do the 425 versus the 525, and
you've got to do what's meant for your farm. We have always said it. I've said it for years. You need to put up fencing for your particular horses in your particular farm. So the nice part about this is you can customize it to what you need. And that's one reason why we really like to talk to our customers about what are you putting in now, and what do you think you're going to be putting in the future. If you're at your farm for a long time, I mean, it could end up that, like us, we have horses right now, but we're bringing in some other animals. So we want to figure out, like down the road, what are we going to be able to use that we'll have for a long, long time. So you may want to think about that when you put your fencing in, to decide, what's going to be, what can we have so that down the road we'll have the right fencing for that as well. So.
And I think the other thing is for us, this is our office. This is where we work most of the time. But when
it's our farm, isn't it?
Yeah. We leave here, so there's nobody really here 24/7. So one of the big concerns is that when we're gone, we want to make sure that our animals are safe. We are off of a major highway in Ohio here, so we don't want our animals getting out on the highway. So and then our property backs up to woods, so we've got predators back in the woods, so we want to make sure that our animals stay safe while we're not here. And that's another thing to really consider about when you're laying your fence out and kind of planning for it is the environment that the animals are going to be within. And do you live off of a major highway? Do you have a lot of traffic? Do you have maybe your neighbor's dogs are on your property all the time, and they're chasing
neighborhood children. Also, this is another thing to consider: our trees. Where we put this particular fence, there are no trees. We have other areas where we do have trees, but how far back away is your tree line? You don't want to have those trees falling on your fencing too, so you've got to consider things like that as well too.
All right. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to talk to us and talk about our new project. We'll have all like a blog post, and we'll have some other things on the animals that are coming, and it's very exciting times here at RAM.
Yes. We just got one more new thing in the pasture today, so we have a little 10 by 12 shed that we brought in. So hopefully you can look at our blog post too as well and see some of the pictures we put up. That's yourhorsefarm.com. And where else will we have some photos, Gretchen? Just
our Instagram and probably our Pinterest as well.
Okay. Yep. All right.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@ramfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.